population 1,500, where there are more pigs than people. Sorry, I'm mentioning pigs. Hashem is going to be upset. But that's the way it is. So very diverse, as you can see, in the members of the Guardian Angels who accompanied me here today, from Oakland, from San Francisco, from Sacramento, from San Diego, from Los Angeles, from Ventura County, and all parts in between. They are a representation of the people who make up their communities. Some have been on the straight and narrow path, some were gang members, some fell off the wagon and had problems with alcohol and drugs, some came from dysfunctional backgrounds, some aced their studies and earned 4-year college degrees and went to graduate school. So it's a unique group, a very eclectic group of all different types that have come together. But to understand the origin of why I started the Guardian Angels, I need to take you back to the late 70s. In the late 70s in New York City, it wasn't a New York City that was reborn, that had a rebirth, a resurgence. Rather, it was slipping into the abyss. High crime, high murder rate, drugs everywhere, Uzi-toting, dope-sucking, psychopathic killing machines laying siege to the neighborhoods of the city. People who had money and the wherewithal would pick up and move and flee. Those who were on fixed incomes were forced to embed themselves behind bars on the windows, locks on the doors, and they'd have to turn Fifi, the French poodle friend of men and women, into King, the pit bull terrier killer of men and women. And constantly people would have this MYOB, mind your own business mentality. Now that was back in the 70s. That has been replaced now by the nonsense of rap, hip-hop, and reggaeton, which says snitches get stitches and end up in ditches. They've just sort of taken it up a few notches. But it's still the same old philosophy of mind your own business, put window shades on your eyes, cotton balls in your ears, and a zipper on your mouth. Emasculate yourself, do nothing, and let the criminals reign free. Well, as a youngster growing up in Canarsie, Brooklyn, I grew up immersed in a culture in which gangs were worshipped. And I'm not talking street gangs. I'm talking the Capo di Tutti, the gang of old gangs, and many of them literally fashioned themselves to be like the Gambino crime family, the Gottis. And I grew up with these yadrus, these knuckle draggers. These young men who had muscles in their head between both ears and refused to use their most powerful muscle in their mind, their brain, to think for themselves. No, they were being taken on a one-way trip to Palookaville. The Pied Pipers of decadence and debauchery were leading them into all kinds of organized crime families, of La Cosa Nostra, the Mafia, the Di Cavalcantes, the Colombos, the Bananas, the Genovese, the Gambinos, the Luccheses. And they had one thing in common. They were organized to perpetuate crime, to take what was not rightfully was theirs, and all day long these men would scheme on how to take money out of the pockets of hard-working men and women who were law-abiding, who were God-fearing, and were raising their children and trying to do the right thing. So I saw they were malingerers, they were slackers, they were sycophants, toadies, and lackeys. And yet they were able to perpetuate. Why? Because within their own community, the Italian-American community, they were put up on a pedestal. They were romanticized. There was the Godfather, there's Goodfellas, there's the Sopranos. And I say to myself, Madonna mai, I cannot believe that Italians, with all that they have created in this world, would put up on a pedestal the absolute worst enemies of society, who would kill and maim their own and literally declare war on their own society and spread their tentacles into other cultures, other ethnic groups, other racial groups, for the love of money. Moolah shmoolah, chimolis, lettuce, cheddar. And yet, Hollywood has helped them. The freakazoids, the jet setters, have enabled them to romanticize their notions. And this is spread to the other gangs. Bloods, Crips, Latin Kings, Nietas, Mexican Mafia, White Fence, 18th Street. We can go on and on and on and on and on. In fact, there are people in these communities who know more about gangs than about the men and women of their culture and their history, who literally enabled them to lift themselves, in which they didn't have two nickels to rub together, and to become some of the greatest creative artists of our lifetime, pioneers in science, in medicine, in math, leaders in their community, and good fathers and good mothers raising good families. No, because there is that dark side. And that dark side I fought against as a little young whippersnapper. In fact, many of my cousins, my supreme cuisine cousins, would be lured by these geriatric espresso-sipping psychotic killers of organized crime. They'd steal a car, trunk, snatch a pocketbook, break into a church. Oh, you made this up. Oh, can I make the sign of a cross here? Okay. They would break into a church and steal from the poor box. And this would be an assignment. This would be literally the homework that the elder capos would give to the little ones so that they could prove that they were part of that dark side. Earn their stripes, keeping it real, street credibility. And they would go on and on and on. And it seemed to be like a rite of passage in every Italian-American family, even if no one was a member of organized crime. The topic of conversation at the dinner table or any family gathering was Uncle Vinny, Uncle Sal, Uncle Vito is a member. Why would they even say that if it weren't true? And in fact, if it were true, why would you even want to acknowledge that? To me, that's sort of like a stain. That's shame. That's something that is not virtuous. That's something not to deserve any form of braggadocio. That is something, in fact, that you would want to expunge from your family tree. But no. And I've seen it in the Black community, seen it in the Hispanic community, seen it in almost all communities. The same romanticized notion. So at times I felt like Don Quixote there, you know, swinging against the windmills. I tried to talk my cousins out of it. I tried to talk my friends out of it. Some would avoid getting involved, but others would end up following that line, ending up in prison, sullying their own reputation, destroying their lives, and for many, going straight to hell without an asbestos suit, and having nothing in their life positive to say about any contributions they made for themselves, their family, their children, many of whom had no participation in raising. And more importantly, literally would go to their grave thinking that what they did was to be honorable men. I didn't snitch, I didn't rat, I didn't cooperate, I was a man's man. I had testosterone flowing through my veins and arteries. Nonsense.